Hey there guys, welcome to yet another exciting episode of Media Talk, well episode 67 to be precise, and this is where all media fanatics' desires and wishes are catered for. And on today's jam-packed show, we'll be talking about making educated guesses about the content of the brand new mysterious 1975 album, which I know has got music fans everywhere questioning, including myself. We'll also be interviewing contemporary media theorists to see if social expectations really do affect international conglomerates, and probably my favourite bit, try not to be biased here, but we'll be learning about my very own media creation and seeing what I learned from audience feedback, which I just know has sparked so much interest in you guys. So stay tuned because you most certainly do not want to miss it. So yes, it is another episode of the Media Talk Show, and if you're brand new to this podcast series, then hello, I'm Ryan Keane, your Media Talk host, and I hope that you have a lot of fun around here. The date is the 16th of March 2017, but I'm sure you can work that out if you look at your calendar or your phone. And I think, you know what, I really think today actually seems quite bright and cheery, which I think is quite unusual for March. You know, we're on the cusp of spring, I'm glad actually, because I'm sick of the cold weather, but there you go. But I think I'm more happy not because of the nice weather or anything like that, but I actually think I'm more happy because we have an amazing show lined up for you today, and I mean amazing, because we're going to start it off by talking about my very own media product. I'm sure the media theorists won't mind waiting for just a few moments. So basically, I created a three-part product for my A2 Media Studies, and that included a digipack, a music video, and a magazine advert, which you will already know that if you are a regular listener of the show. But if you're not, that's what I did. And the thing is, I had to be really conscious of audience and conventions when creating this. So when I did produce the final thing and edited the video and whatnot, I sort of sat down with some tea or whatever, and I thought to myself, well, this seems pretty good, but how effective actually are these products? Because I didn't want to just produce these products, put them out there, and then be like, they're out there now, that's that. I wanted them to be effective, I wanted them to work, so I got audience feedback. So, it was paramount that I myself approved of my creations, but I did have to hear what different demographics thought, since I was trying to market a product. So, since my target audience, was young adults of 16 to 25-year-olds, I had to make sure that these individuals had the most feedback to give me. So, there's no point me saying this is for 16 to 25-year-olds, but then finding 85-year-old women and saying, please say what you think, because that would be pointless. I had to make sure that these individuals had the most feedback to give me, because it was important. I didn't just want to put this out there and think to myself, it doesn't matter who gives it back. It had to be specific. It had to be tailored to that complete thing. Can we please just take a minute to bless social media, because it was sites such as Facebook and Twitter that actually helped me gain some insight into audiences' opinions. So on Facebook, Twitter, I think I used Tumblr as well, but I asked 12 people, 8 of which were 16 to 25-year-olds, to see what they thought of my final designs. And I asked 4 people who weren't in my target audience so that I could gain a broader understanding of demographic consumption. And like every product, it is helpful to have secondary audiences to appeal to. So thankfully, most of the feedback was incredibly positive. And the first thing that I really, really want to mention to you guys is how the significance of using generic conventions to do with branding went over my head. I knew certain codes, such as symbols, colour, excessive use of the star persona, etc. I knew they were vital for audiences to identify the genre. But 9 of the 12 people I asked correctly identified the genre of the products as rock/soft rock. I mean, the fact they can actually decipher a genre from just a few images and clips is astounding, to be honest. I was not expecting that. And that actually really strengthened my understanding of media marketing. And you know what? Another interesting thing that I actually learned from audience feedback is how they think of star personas. 8 of the people I asked picked up on Victoria, who is my main artist's face, not being included in the magazine advert. So I questioned them and, said, do you think it's a good idea? And 6 of them actually turned around to me and said, that they did think it was a good idea because it gave the product a lot more mystery, a lot more enigma, and it actually encouraged them to buy the product. And 10 of them actually commented on the eclectic style of Victoria, and one of them described her as hippie-like, which I was slightly grateful to hear that because that's exactly what I was trying to get across. And I was a little, I guess I was a little dubious to give her a hippie theme because, that's going to evoke a polysemic reaction. You're going to get some people that are going to think that's offensive, that's cruel, that's this. But I did have to set up a brand. But then again, as well as my understanding developing, I actually learned completely new things as well, such as genre blending preferences. Because it was my understanding, as I'm sure a lot of you people that watch this show or listen to this show, that it was that the general understanding is that beforehand, a lot of people only want to see products of one genre because naturally we sort of categorize ourselves and systematize ourselves and codify ourselves into one specific genre that we like. And for me, that's probably soft rock and whatever. But a lot of audience feedback actually stated that the blending of genres would get their attention more. And although 2 people actually told me that they thought my product was pop, they were told by myself that it was actually soft rock. And then from there, they said that they could see a kind of almost like a medley between pop and rock in my product. And I really did think that was quite interesting because, I even asked another individual what would get their attention and interest more, and he actually turned around to me and said that genre blending too would do it. And I honestly had no idea that audiences really like that kind of thing. So when I had all these different people turn around to me and say, we want to see genre blending, we want to see that kind of, that dynamic element to it, I was really shocked, but I was really sort of pleased by it because I wasn't expecting it. So I think that if I ever use this for future reference, I would definitely have to bear that in mind. And then moreover, I learned about the significance of consistency. So a lot of those that I did ask pointed out the different colours, symbols, etc. throughout my product, and I asked them, what do you think of this consistency? And most of them said they liked it. And one person in particular actually said that artists who do not remain consistent can sometimes be forgotten and rendered irrelevant, especially those who change genres. But at first I was a bit dubious to believe that, because if you think about someone like Taylor Swift who changed from country to pop, and her career skyrocketed from that. She had said at country, who knows what would have happened, but she changed genres and she became one of the biggest international stars of our time. So I knew that there would be a huge risk if I just had Victoria being a relatively new artist and almost following complete generic conventions and not changing things, not blending genres. I knew that was a risk, but I had to have her consistent. I had to maintain that brand that I'd created for her. And the thing is, a lot of my audience feedback made me realise that audiences understood that risk as well, that I wasn't just worrying about this for nothing. So I was glad about that. And many of those asked also picked up on the risk of typecasting, because they said that if an artist stays in the same genre, or if they produce the same kind of content over and over again, they're going to get typecasted. And if you look at Taylor Swift, she didn't do that. She actually kind of went from her country roots and upgraded to a far more pop, bubblegum pop kind of vibe, kind of ethos. So that was important for me because I had to think about that. I couldn't just say, oh, it's fine, whatever happens, just do this again and we'll repeat this colour and we'll repeat this. Victoria had to be different, but had to be the same in a way, kind of paradoxically. It'd be kind of the same. But Victoria is a new artist, so I wouldn't have to worry too much about it later on in her career. Later on in her career, I would actually have to worry about that. But for now, because she's relatively new, I have to create a brand for her. I have to sort of market her as a persona. It's just going to be confusing to audiences and demographics if I just completely change her ethos 2 or 3 weeks at a time. It'd be ridiculous. And my audience feedback from that perspective really enabled me to learn that typecasting is a huge issue. Because I knew it was, but I didn't know that people who were not media experts, who were not media specialists and were doing media A-level, I did not know that they actually knew that typecasting was a huge issue. So it shows. These issues are irrelevant. They show. I'm not just worrying about this for nothing. They are genuine issues. that I have to consider. So I'm really, really glad that I did my audience feedback, because if I do wish to take this further and to sort of take Victoria further and go beyond A2 productions or whatever, I now know that I have to remain consistent with Victoria, even if I try to not, even if I think, you know what, it's fine, I won't go into a different genre, that's fine, because there's always that risk of losing fan loyalty with that. But if I do stick with her, and now I know that I have to keep switching it up, I have to keep changing it, changing the album aesthetic, changing the costumes, but maintaining certain elements. So I'm honestly, guys, if you ever do anything like this, if you ever produce anything, make sure you understand the risk of typecasting and that you actually do something to change that. I also got some not so positive feedback, but that's okay, it's constructive criticism. And some people did say that the digipack looked a little bare, and then the CD design could have been a bit better, could have had a bit more vibrancy to it, which I understand, I take that on board. And I digest it, because I suppose that I partially agree. But then I did have to give black as a colour to connote soft rock and eccentricity. It was only two people who seemed to criticise the black colour scheme anyway. And they didn't like the sepia colour tone too much, but then the majority actually admired the unusual imagery and the colours. So I learnt that by sticking to soft rock, by using colours not of the norm for music videos, that I was conspicuously exuding the genre in a way that audiences can actually pick up on, as well as media experts. And 5 people actually deciphered the reason why I had used sepia, which is to offer originality and to convey nostalgia. And through the music video feedback, I learnt that not everyone can be pleased. There's always going to be polysemy with whatever products you get produced. Not everyone's going to like everything. But as long as the majority of your audience appreciate your creation, then you really can't go wrong. And I don't know if I'll actually develop my A2 production, but if I do, now I know that consistency is paramount, and that I can use different colours, conventions, etc., because people are actually attracted to that kind of eccentricity and those features. And people can actually identify genres, they can identify demographics and dynamics and that kind of, those aspects and components of the music industry. So I would not have discovered that without audience feedback. But I do feel as if my audience feedback has actually helped me with my products, because it meant I was capable of gaining valuable insight into the desires of demographics. And thankfully, I actually did gain feedback through my first draft, final product, etc., which ultimately enabled me to create a successful end product. So if any of you would like to see my products and maybe leave some feedback yourselves, go to my blog. The link is in my bio, and you only have to give your age, because I need to know who's from target audiences and who isn't. It's not me being nosy, I promise. It isn't. And even throughout my first drafts, I was getting feedback. I was posting content, first drafts, second drafts, so that I was having this kind of consistent, sort of linear chronological feedback as I was going along, which meant that I was able to perfect my final design a lot more effectively. I wasn't going back and changing this and going back and changing that. I was able to move with it. I was almost sort of symbiotic with the rhythm of creation. I was able to go along with that, which is great, really. And I really wanted to create products that did have an effect, that inspired and entertained people. So I did learn a lot of these previous things after creating my drafts, but I had so much more detail and information after the final creations that really consolidated the information I'd already received. So comments that I'd gotten from this first draft had completely changed by the final draft, because people had consecutively seen different appearances, different images of mine, and I kind of thought, well, that's alright then, it might make sense. So that's all fine. And if you are listening and you were one of the ones that gave me feedback, then thank you so much, because you really did help me to create an effective product, and I really did learn a lot. So, my A2 production I really think was fantastic, and the audience feedback that I received from people really, really helped. So if you did give me feedback, then run yourself a hot bath, pamper yourself, because you deserve it. Quite frankly, you really, really helped me out. So, coming up after this, it's finally time to interview these media theorists. You don't have to listen to me talk about my 82 production anymore, guys. And also the 1975. Are they really producing a new album? And if they are, what is the Digipack aesthetic going to be this time around? Because we've had pink, we've had black. I'm kind of feeling like blue. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to a light blue album. So we have more to discuss in 5 minutes. I'm Ryan Keane. This is Media Talk, and I'll see you in 5.